They say abandoned places are just empty shells, remnants of lives once lived. But sometimes the walls remember. And sometimes they're not as empty as you think. Tonight, we explore 3 terrifying encounters in abandoned places. Stories that will make you think twice before stepping into the dark. Story 1. The Asylum on Hillcrest Road. When I was 17, I thought I was fearless. My friends dared me to explore the Hillcrest Asylum, a building closed down since the early 90s after a string of mysterious patient deaths. The locals whispered that the staff used experimental treatments that pushed patients into madness. The moment we stepped in, the air changed, heavy, like it was thick with dust or whispers. The walls were peeling, and long corridors stretched into pitch-black nothing. We joked, trying to mask our nerves, until we heard footsteps. They were slow, deliberate, coming from the direction we just came. We turned our flashlights toward the sound. Nothing, but the footsteps didn't stop. They got closer, and then the lights flickered. For a split second, I saw her, a thin woman in a tattered hospital gown, head tilted too far to one side, eyes completely black, and she was smiling. We bolted out of there, but as I reached the front doors, I heard a voice right in my ear. You should have stayed. Story 2, the factory that never shut down. A friend of mine works as a freelance photographer. He loves urban exploration, and one night he went to an old steel factory outside the city. It had been abandoned for decades, but the machinery was still there, rusted and frozen in time. He noticed something strange, the faint hum of electricity, like the building still had power. When he turned the corner, one of the massive conveyor belts was slowly moving. The air smelled like burnt metal. He tried to take a photo, but his camera screen glitched, lines of static covering the image. That's when he saw the man, or what used to be a man. His body was twisted, skin pale and thin, as if he had been stretched. His jaw hung open far wider than it should, and his eyes didn't blink. The man stepped toward him, but the sound that came out wasn't footsteps. It was the grinding of gears. My friend ran, and as he glanced back, the conveyor belt was still moving, feeding nothing into the darkness. Story 3, the Forgotten Hotel. I was driving through a small mountain town when a sudden snowstorm forced me to stop for the night. My GPS showed no hotels nearby, but I spotted a flickering sign down a narrow road. Everpine Lodge, vacancy. Inside, the front desk was coated in dust. The air smelled like mildew. An old bell sat on the counter. When I rang it, an elderly man emerged from the shadows, smiling faintly. "Room for one?" he asked. I nodded, and he handed me a key without taking payment. That night, I woke to the sound of voices in the hallway. When I peeked outside, the corridor was filled with people dressed in old-fashioned clothes, faces pale, eyes sunken. They walked in slow, jerky movements, as if pulled by invisible strings. One of them stopped at my door, a woman with a shredded dress, hair covering most of her face. She whispered, "You shouldn't be here. You're still alive." I slammed the door, heart pounding, and stayed awake until morning. When I went to return the key, the lobby was empty. The desk was covered in a thick layer of dust, the key already hanging on the wall, as if I had never checked in. Abandoned places aren't always empty. Sometimes they're waiting for someone foolish enough to step inside. If these stories gave you chills, don't forget to like this video, share it with your friends, and subscribe to Panic Peak Productions for more true horror stories every week. And remember, the next time you pass an abandoned building, don't look in the windows.